Okay, so today I'm going to illustrate to you how I make water drop photos. It's a fairly simple setup. I'm using two speed lights, but if you don't have speed lights, it's okay. I've used desk lamps, just as long as you have a lot of light going right on here where you're going to be shooting at. See, I have my camera on a tripod here, and I'm using my old Canon Rebel here, and so just to show that you don't really need a really fancy camera to do this. Pretty much any DSLR can do this. Now with my speed lights, I have them set at the one of the lowest settings. That way I can do multiple bursts all at once. If they're on the full power setting, I can only get one shot at a time. And you'll see why, hopefully, here in a minute, why I'm doing it that way. Okay, so the max sync speed, or as fast as I can shoot on with the speed lights, is 1/250th of a second. Excuse me. And so I got my camera set to that, and I want as much light coming in as I can. And so I have my aperture wide open, as much as it will go on this lens, which is f/4.5, and I want to leave my ISO at 100 to cut out any kind of digital noise. Okay, so another thing here, I'm shooting tethered into my computer, and it's going straight into Lightroom. That way I can see my images just as soon as I take them. So the next step would be to get my focus here. Okay, and I have an eyedropper here, which I'm going to use for two things. Obviously, I'm going to use it to drip my water in, but another, I'm going to use it to get my focal point. So I'm just going to put this right here in the middle and look through my lens here. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to use the autofocus to get my focus in. Okay, there we are. And now, in order to keep my focal point where it is, I need to set my lens here to manual focus. Like I said, that will lock it in, and so it's not trying to constantly find the focus, which you can't do while we're doing this. Let's see what else we got. A little microfiber cloth here I use because I might get some water on the lens. I can wipe it off real quick. I'm using a remote because I can. It's not really necessary. I could just push here while I'm dripping, but because I have one, I'm going to use it. Let's see, what else? Keep a towel handy in case I make a mess. Now another thing that I'm doing because I can, because I have these, I have all these called colored gels here that I can use to put any kind of color I want. In this case, I want my water to be blue, because if I just shoot it as it is now, it will just stay clear and it'll show the white table below it, and that's not really what we want here. So I'm going to slide this lighter blue one into my water. Now, again, this isn't necessary. I've done this before, just using food coloring to color my water, but again, because I can, this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to come from this side and put this right in here. So now when I take my photo, everything will appear blue. Even though, again, like I said, in reality, water is clear. So you have to do some manipulating here. Okay, so I think that'll do it for now. Let's go ahead and take some shots and see what we get. I'm using my eyedropper here to get me some water. Now the tricky part is trying to figure out exactly where to drip the water. Because the depth of field here, since the aperture is wide open, the depth of field is very narrow. And so only a very small part of the picture is going to stay in focus. So I need to make sure I drop my water exactly where I want it to be. I'm going to do several drops at a time. Okay, trying to eyeball it the best I can. I'm letting a few drops go ahead and go so I can see, make sure I'm where it needs to be. Looks like that's good. Okay, so here we go. And we'll take a look here and see what we have. All right, we already got a couple of pretty cool ones, so we'll just keep experimenting until we get some more. In fact, I'll show you. You don't really need the remote. As long as you have a good sturdy tripod, you don't have to worry about moving it around. So, okay. One thing about this, this isn't something I normally do. I'm using the spray and pray method. Just take as many shots as you can and hope that at least one comes out. But in this case, that's pretty much what you have to do. Okay, I'm going to experiment a little. I'm going to go up, get some more water in my dropper here. Go up a little higher, maybe I can get a little bit bigger splash. We'll just play with it and see what we get. Okay, there we are. Well, that worked. Definitely got a much bigger splash. But really, it may be too much of a splash, considering how close I am here. I might have to go back to being much closer in. Just as long as I don't get my dropper in the photo. Yeah, it looks like the closer distance is going to be the way to go here. So let's just keep playing, see what we get. Okay, so those are looking pretty good. I think I'm gonna, play around a little bit, again, because I can. I'm gonna use one of my darker blue gels here. I'm gonna cover one of my lights with it to maybe give me even a little bit more blue. Because this blue it looks good, but it's a little bit light. So again, I'm just gonna play around with it and see what I get. Okay, yeah, I think I'm liking how that looks a little bit better. So I think I'll get a few more of these and see where we go from here. And I apologize, I know I'm sniffling a lot. It's Kansas in the summertime and I have allergies. What are you going to do? And while those are coming up, you might have also noticed, I don't know if you can really tell, but I'm starting the drops before I actually press the shutter. Again, that's to guarantee that those drops are going just on that very narrow focal point. Okay, that photo there is exactly what I was going for. Okay, and again, I'm going to play around with a little bit more. Now, as far as like I'm putting these gels on to affect the color of my drops and whatnot, what I've also done is had a separate glass of water with a different color. Say, if you want to use red food coloring, or I used green one time and it worked, looked pretty cool. That's something you can do. But I'm going to add a red gel to the other light, and we'll see how that looks. Yeah, because I know for some weird reason there are people here in Kansas that like red and blue. I don't get it. I think purple is a much better color, but and any of my niece or nephew want to comment on that, you go right ahead. Now you would think that having the red gel on one, the blue gel on the other would make it purple, but it actually doesn't. What it does is on the drops themselves, it adds a little bit of color to the drops. The water itself, because I have this blue gel in the water, that isn't being affected, just the drops, and maybe a little bit of the splashes. Basically anything that comes off of the surface of the water is getting little hints of red to it. And those look pretty cool. Okay, now when I put these gels on, it does decrease the power of the light that's coming out. But that's something that's easy enough to fix. I can just lighten it up a little bit if I find that they're too dark. I can just lighten them up in post. It looks like I may have a little bit of drops on there, so I'm going to clean my lens real quick. Now, when you're cleaning your lens with this, just do it very gently because you don't want to move the lens at all. Otherwise, you have to reset it up. Yeah, those are looking pretty cool. Now, another note, this darker blue gel, I did try it, this one in the water, but it made the water too dark. It was too hard to see any of the other, the splashes, the ripples, all that stuff. It just made it too hard to see. Okay, now again, I'm just going to keep playing around, experimenting, and see what we get. Like I said, these color gels, and there's even a bunch more over there, they come in all different colors. I do a couple like that. This is more of like a teal color. That might look kind of interesting, so I'm going to give that a try. Actually, I'm kind of liking that teal color. It's like it's still coming in as like blue, but it's like a blue-green. Maybe it has something to do with this one, even though it shouldn't. That blue gel might be interfering with that a little bit. I don't think it should too much. But I do like the color of this, so I think I'll leave it. I think for now I'm going to remove the red one to see. Fill that up. Okay, well that's coming up again. You may be wondering how I know exactly where to drop my water. Well, this particular container has a little circle down the bottom of it, and that's what I'm aiming for. But you could just put a piece of tape or something down there and make sure that your focal point is right where that tape is. That could work too, as long as you can see it. So that looks okay. And now I'm going to experiment a little more. Take this one off, put the red one back in. Maybe I can get some red and green going on here. Yeah, that actually looks pretty cool. Okay, now if you're doing something like this and you find that the light is maybe too bright, there's a couple things you can do. You can just go with one speed light if you wanted. But also, because of the inverse square law, you could move the light further away, which means it would spread out more and not be so concentrated on this area. Now in this case, I don't want to do that. I'm getting really good results here. That's just something else to keep in mind. Now I'm curious if I have a dark blue on one and a lighter blue on the other, what that might look like. Draw it off from when it was in the water. Like I said, I mean, there's no wrong answers, just play around, experiment, see what works, what doesn't work. That actually looks pretty neat. I figured it maybe be too much blue, but it actually looks kind of neat. Looks very refreshing, let's say. That's a good word. I'm gonna go see what other gels I might have over there that might be interesting. Here we are. Try a purple one, see how that works. Get rid of those. Put it on this side. And actually for now, I'm going to turn this one off. Again, just experimenting, playing around, seeing what works. Okay, so I still have the blue water from the teal color gel, and now I have little bits of purple showing up in the highlights of the water drops. And as we all know, purple is a better color than red and blue anyway. I know, I'm really asking for it. Okay, so basically that's it. I hope you enjoyed this and you're ready to try it on your own. If you have any questions, leave some remarks down in the comments. And until next time, have a good one.